can begin now. So, welcome to the second day of the React slash Volto training. We didn't completely finish the React training yesterday. There were a few points left to do, but that won't take too much time. So today Alok will start the session again with the last few points in the React training, and after that I'll take over and show you uh, how to work with a nice software product that is Volto. Um, so I give it to you, Alok. As yesterday, if you have any questions, post them to the chat, and in case you're coding along with us, please. Okay, it's harder to hear me. Then I'll try to fix my mic setup a bit. Um, Tell me if that's better now. Or maybe this way? Is that better?
That is good.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Um, okay, yeah. Change the setting of the microphones. Okay, so if you're again coding along, please write questions in the chat. Let us know when you're done with the specific sections of the training, so we have an overview on if we should go faster or slower, um, and enjoy the training. I say take over, Alok.
Okay, so we'll just do a quick introduction to the routing, and it will not take much time. Like we'll just go through it and just look into that, like how we can set up a client-side routing in our React app. So I think that we should continue from here because we left that. So on yesterday training week, completely going through the React and the Redux, and today we'll just start with the routing. So for client-side routing, we need a dependency called React Router DOM. So you have to install it, and React Router DOM provide you like three methods. Like one is the browse router thingy. You can clearly see like we are importing browse router and the route from the React router. So browse router is like the provider. Like you have to wrap your app component, like the original entry point of your app with that, and then you can uh, initialize your component with the route thingy. Like you can clearly see like route is like you can see like what will happen if I go to this route, like the slash and the slug. Then React will go there like, okay, I am this path, like the slash thingy, then this is the component which I have to render. So this is the boilerplate. Like you have to wrap the browse router thingy to your whole app, and then you just define the route and the path. Like a route take like the two properties mainly, like the path and the component. And so path is like the slash route, like where you want to visit, and the component will be responsible for the viewing. Like if you go to the slash, then we view the FAQ component, and if you go to the FAQ index component, FAQ slash index, then this FAQ item view, I will explain like what is this FAQ item view is. And you can see that there is this exact thingy. Exact thing is like that, like if you see if you do not provide this exact, then browser will compare every starting route with slash to be considered to be the match. So exact just tell is that like if the path is strictly follow this parameter, then show this component, otherwise fall back to other thing. Okay, so for showing the routing, what we do is like we will create another component like the FAQ, like this one, the FAQ item view. What it does is like if you when you click onto the view button in for a particular FAQ item, it is show you another view like which contains a question and the answer, and you can put another thing also. So it works is that like if you go to FAQ slash index will be the FAQ item index. Like if you have five FAQ, then it will be like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will be like the blog post. Like you can see a list of the blog post, and when you click onto a certain blog post, then it will go to the all the content to show the all the content which is like the blog post. So it is similar like that. So you just have to wrap your app component with the browser router and define the path and the component which you render when the user goes to that path. This is the simple thing. And then we have to write we are just writing a simple view for the FAQ item. So what we do is like go to the components folder, make a item FAQ item view.js file, and you can see that like we are just showing this particular thing like the this dot props does FAQ item question and this dot props does FAQ item answer. So when you go to FAQ slash 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4 or whatever the route, you will see this view. Like we'll just shows the question and the answer thing. So there will be an exercise like there will be a problem like, okay, we go to the this view, but how we can access this FAQ item? So React router provides you a match props, the match props to all the nested component which is rendered by the when you wrap the browse router. So when you wrap this browse router and when you pass this route function, then React router put some properties to the following component which you are passing, like this one, the FAQ and the FAQ item view. It will inject it some properties directly to the this component additional to yours, like when you pass that. So we'll get this match from the React router DOM, and we can access this from this one, like the props match params.index. It is same as if you do in the server, like you pass the parameters from the route and then we request it from the request object if you do the backend work. So it is same like that, like we can access the whatever index which is passed there, like FAQ slash 0. If you pass 0, then props.match.params.index returns you the 0th element. And you know that like we store all our FAQ in the Redux router. So how we can access these items from there? So you remember from the previous training, like we can use this connect function. Like you can see that like we have this connect function and a state and the props, and you can know that like we can access the FAQ from the state, and you can see the solution like we can access the state from state.faq, and we also get this props.match.index, and we are just parsing it so that it's the number, and we are just accessing the FAQ items from the state. Like we are getting this state from the store, and then we're getting the FAQ item, and then we are passing the index like which array in a object which we want, and then we get this FAQ items into the view like here, and then you can do this like this dot FAQ items dot question and this dot props dot FAQ item dot answer, and that's the only thing you have to do. Okay, I think it is clear, like how we set up the client side routing. Yeah, okay, then I should continue. So now we set up this route, like when you go to the path in the client side, like but we have this some problem, some another feature like the links, like how we can put the links in our React app. So browse router also provide you links, like you know that the links is used for navigating to the different pages. So when you click into this link, then the React will transfer to the another page, and from there the React router matches the route, and then it renders the component. That's the whole overflow. So you can simply set up a you can simply pass it to the same like the anchor tag. Like in anchor tag we have this href, and for the link you have to use this to, like you just simply told like you import the link from the React router DOM, and then you create like simple like link and to like where you want to go, like same as the anchor href, like you set the path, like go to this page. So it will be like the FAQ and whatever, like you have this index thingy, and you whatever you can say like this is just for a button or something, like okay, so for when you use it just show you the child content between the link. So we know that we have this FAQ item component previously. So we import the link from React router DOM, and we just added a view, like a link to view component, like when we have this list of FAQ items and we have this delete button, edit button, we also added a new link, like when you view, like what we, if you want to show the whole FAQ item, so it will not clear. Like if you think of like a blog post, like we have this read more section, and when instead of view, you should have this read more, and when you click into read more, then the whole the content flourish. So you can think of it like that. So when you click onto this button, then our app will go to this route, and then React router matches this to the component folder which we uh, put in the app, and then that component is rendered, and the component is FAQ item view. So what we make to work for the links, we just imported the link, and we just define it like a anchor tag. And if you look closely, like if you look at the DOM, this link tag is converted into the anchor tag. Like if you inspect the console, you can see that. So this is the way you can define the link in your app. Like you can put, is it like clear, or do I need to show something? I think that is okay, good. So then there will be this new feature which we want, like how we can do the redirect. So we think of it like app, like we have this login button, and you want that when a user log in, then you go to an view and then redirect to the profile thingy or the home page or something like that. So how we can achieve the same thing using the React, like in our React app. So what we can do is like we currently have this thing, like when you have this list of FAQ, and we have this view button, and when you click into the view, then this another view component, another a component renders, and we just want to just go back to the previous one. So you can do it also by the link tag, like you, if you have like, but here we just want to show like how we can redirect some user from there. So we will just in FAQ item view, like which we created for index thingy for all the content, we'll create a button like which will do the redirect, like which is called a method called on back. When you click into that, and we can do the redirect by accessing the history props. So as I previously told you, like React Router provide bunch of properties additional to your past ones. So React Router also provide you this history props, so you can easily access in your component. So you can do like this dot props dot history dot push, and you can do whatever part where you want to redirect the users. So you can call it by the set timeout or anywhere, like for in the component did mount or something, and then you are good. So what we did in FAQ item view for implementing the redirect, you know that like we first have to define the prop types, so that this component works perfectly fine. Or if we do not provide this feed the console log, then we'll define this on back property, on back method, which will just do the redirect thingy, and we just added a button like the on click, like this one button dot on click this dot on back. So when you click on the back button, then on back method is called. We go to the on back, and we get the history properties from the React router. Then we just push to the whatever URL where you want to redirect. Yeah, I think this is the difference. Also, you can also show by git diff, like we are using history. We need this constructor props, so that our React component knows that, okay, we have to initialize the props, and then we would just created a method on back, which do the redirect, and just the button on click. Yeah, that's it for the redirect, I think. Okay, so that's the end, I think. Did you understand? Like, I think so.
Are there any
How you can
questions
implement
left
the
about the
redirect.
React router? Okay, seems everyone got that. Very nice. Okay, Alok, may I take over from here?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you very
Okay.
much for the React, because my part is over, and now Jakob. And today Jakob will do the coding part also. Like, are you doing it? Like coding
Uh,
with the trainee also?
exactly.
Okay, so yesterday we do not do this the coding. Like I am not doing the coding, only explaining it. But now today will Jacob show you like if you have any problem or anything, Jacob will so like share his screen and can teach you or something like that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Alok. Um, so, the plan for today is to take a look on Volto, which is or will be the new default front end for Plone 6, which is very exciting. So, first thing I want to do is to show those of you who haven't even got in any touch with Volto to just give a really quick overview. What is Volto? What can it do? What's the difference to old Plone 5? Or yeah, for that I'll really quickly share my whole screen. I hope you all are able to see that. And at the moment, the quickest way to just check out Volto, how it looks like for users and editors, is to go to volto.concept.com. We host there usually pretty up-to-date version of plain Volto for people to try out. You can log in there with admin and take a look at the general structure of Volto. The, I think, biggest difference, except for the completely new looking UI to Plone 5, is the introduction of the blocks engine, which is very similar to what the guys over at WordPress did with their new Gutenberg editor. I'll really quickly show that to you. So when you have a page, you can, as an editor, just very easily click on this edit button directly on the page, and the page shows up in this edit view where you have on one hand just rather simple text editing functions with a little bit of additional styling functionalities for the text. Then that's where the blocks come in. When you're having your cursor inside of one of those text fields and hit the enter key, a new text field will appear with on the left this plus button. Clicking on that, you'll have an array of several different blocks that you can add to the page very easily. For example, this image block where then you are able to upload images. Per default, there's a quite useful selection of blocks, and when you're working on your own project, you also might want to implement some of your own blocks, and how you would go about that. That's something we'll look into later. From a technical standpoint, Volto, the way Volto works is that it relies entirely on Plone's REST API implementation. So when we're here and check out our network tab on that page, quickly reload that, we'll notice when we filter for XHR requests that there are a bunch of requests going to /API, where we are retrieving the necessary information from the Plone backend, and then Volto will process that to display that in the Volto front end. Did someone say something a second ago, or never mind?
No, it was Alok.
Okay. Which means When you are working on expanding the functionality of Volto, you can use any information that is retrievable from Plone's extensive REST API implementation, but it also means you can only implement functionalities in Volto that are available with the REST API, or you need also to extend the REST API implementation. So this is the general overview, how Volto looks, how Volto works, and now we're going to have a look on how to bootstrap your very own Volto project and start configuring that and customizing that. For that, we'll be following roughly the Volto hands-on training. I'm saying roughly because it is a bit outdated. There are a few keywords that are not up to date with the current Volto version anymore, but I'll tell you when that's the case. And when we start to set up a project in the training, I'll just very quickly paste the link to that into the chat and into the Slack for everyone to check out. When we start with a quick start section over here, the training recommends that we should clone the GitHub Volto hands-on training repository. We will not do that, and I really advise you when you're coding along not to do that, because this is like very, very outdated. This is a Volto version from, I think, 2 years ago or something like that. What we'll do instead is we'll be using create-volto-app, which is a neat little tool that some of my fellow colleagues here at Concept and some other Plone contributors wrote to very easily set up and bootstrap a Volto project. So yesterday you probably already set up Yarn, so you do not need to do that. And then to install that tool, just paste the npm install -g at Plone Volto app. And for me, just to make sure that I'm on the latest version, I'll add the latest flag to that. I'll really quickly install that. So to create a new Volto project, we now can use anywhere on our machine this create-volto-app command, and then the name of the current project you're working on. So I'll name mine Ploneconf 2020 training. Name yours whatever you want, and you hit enter and wait for a few seconds or minutes, depending how fast your system works, and this application will bootstrap a not yet customized but working Volto project for you. Here we go. You CD in there, Plone Conf 2020 training, and open it up with your code editor of choice. For me, that is Visual Studio Code. Okay, someone got an error. Failed to install. How did I update? I updated using npm install -3, this command here with at latest. And someone got the error failed to install. Anthony, can you quickly check on what node version you're on? I think that is nvm on node that version. If you're using nvm, I'd recommend you change your node version to node version 12, so node use 12. That might, oh, never mind, nvm use, I think that's the right one. Yes. Node 14 should also work fine. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe try again with node 12. My history of commands is, wait a sec. Never mind. Yeah, Vince, give me a sec. So we started with this one. Then we used that one. Then we went into our project using simple cd. And I checked my node version using that. And just to make sure I'm on node version 12, not node use, that was the wrong one, nvm use 12. Doesn't have the permission.
You can use the sudo. You can use the sudo.
Sudo might help on an Unix OS. Okay, you're on Windows. Oh, that's nasty. Yeah, I think I absolutely have no experience on how to do that on a Windows machine. So
you can do that. Like, do you have access to the npm? Then you can just copy it from the GitHub repo into your package.json, and then you have it. The Volto, like I will provide you like.
Okay, yeah, maybe Alok, you two can discuss that in the chat while I continue with the training, so we don't get stuck here for too long. So what I did here now, let me increase the size, is opening our freshly bootstrapped Volto project in my code editor to just I'll give you a quick rundown on what you see here. On the top, we have the locales folder. That's where all of the internationalization will go in. That's not something we will focus on today, but if there's time left in the end, we'll also can take a look at that. The node modules folder is basically the package directory from Node, where all the dependencies go in that we use in our project. Then we have the omelet. The omelet is a symlink to the Volto version that lies inside our node modules. So we installed the whole Volto package, and for development purposes, it's always very handy to really quickly copy files from the base Volto to check things inside of the base Volto. And for convenience, we added this symlink over to the Volto directory in the node modules. Then we have the patches. We don't need to touch that at all. That is some internal RESL stuff. Public folder contains the static resources like favicons, the robots.txt. Potentially you could also put in a sitemap there. I'm not sure about that. Mainly used for the favicon and the robots.txt. Then we have the source folder, where the main structure of our Volto project lies in. All the different views and blocks, pretty much everything we will code goes in there, except for the CSS code, or to be more precise, in the Volto case, we do not use plain CSS, but we use the less CSS preprocessor language. Those go all in the theme folder. How that works is something we'll take a look at very soon. Let me quickly check that. Okay. Now that we have our console inside our Volto project, we can start our Volto instance using just yarn start. And in parallel, we can start up our backend. We can either, for those of you who are already very familiar with Plone, can just start up a default Plone 5 instance, but very importantly, have the kit concept Volto course package installed with that, and the kit concept.volto add-on, which are necessary to run Volto at the moment. Or if you don't want to set all those things up, just use this command here to run a Docker container with all dependencies already installed. This is what I'll do now. This will also take a few seconds, but is usually rather quick. Invalid syntax. I don't like that, but let's see. while we are at that, we can check if the Volto start process is already finished, and we can see, yes, that's actually the case. Here we go. So now that we've both started our Volto frontend and the Plone backend, let me get this out of the way very quickly. We can check out the Volto frontend on our port 3000 and the classic Plone 5 instance on port 8080. Here we go. I think to most of you this will look very, very familiar. And this is the new thing. So when we go back to our training, we will take a look on what's the goal of this training, what we want to achieve. And the idea here is to at least roughly rebuild the Plone.com landing page, but do that in Volto, only using the resources Volto is giving to us and customizing that. So Plone.com at the moment looks like this, and we'll try to at least very narrowly achieve something that looks like this. So first chapter of the training, but where we will start to touch our code, is that we'll look into the theming engine that Volto uses. Volto uses the semantic UI React package for its design and theming. In this little graphic here, we see roughly how that works. We have the semantic UI default design layout. So if we go to react.semanticui.com, we'll see their default themes that they use per default. Those are in turn in Volto overwritten by the Pastanaga UI theme. Erica 7 bioversions constraint. I came across that thing a few weeks ago, but not with the Docker container. Is anyone here more familiar with Docker? Does someone here know how to upgrade to the latest version of the Docker container? I think it might be that the version there is outdated. Yeah, I think the Plone image there is not the latest. Where was my, yeah. I think something like if you run docker pull Plone at latest or something like that. But I'm absolutely not sure. Maybe anyone else here who's more familiar with the Plone Docker image can help out there. I'll continue for now. This part should be really quick to catch up later for those who are stuck at the moment. So I was talking about the theming engine. So at the bottom of the semantic UI, we have the default semantic UI definitions and the semantic UI theme. Over that, we have our Volto theme, which is Pastanaga UI. You can see that when you're in the omelette in the theme.config file, you can see that a lot of those variables, those add thingies, those are all less variables, are set to Pastanaga UI and not the default semantic UI theme. And on top of that, what we'll be doing today is creating our own overrides for the site theme. We start by changing the font of our site. So inside of our theme folder, we create a folder called globals. And in that folder, we put in a file that is called site variables. That was a file, a folder number. So site variables. And to just change the default font in semantic UI, only thing we need to do is put in a new variable for the general font name, which will be open sans. Hit save, and when we now take a look at our default Volto instance here and inspect the text over here, we should be able, we need to reload this first, I think, and then it's still not working. Well, that's not how it should go on. Let me quickly restart my development server, that might be the issue. There we go. Reload our page. And now when we take a look at our font family down here, we see that it's now using Open Sans as the default font. Back to our tutorial. Here as additional info, you can set any Google font available, and the online font version of the font will be used. In case you want to use more than one font and a font that is self-hosted, you should define it as usual in CSS and set where import Google fonts appropriately. Next thing, for our general CSS view rules, we will be using another file, which will be the custom overrides. For that, we again in our theme folder, create a new folder, this time called extras, and inside extras goes a folder code, not a folder, a file, my bad, called site.variables. Bullshit, custom overrides. There we go. Now, is that I think that should be very clear to everyone. I think we're good on that. A little bit of feedback is always appreciated, but I assume anyone who has actually got the Volto and Plone running should be good by this point. Next step is adding the additional CSS, or in our case actually less code, into our custom overrides file. For that, in the training there is already some the code we need for our header on Plone.com, so check that out again. This part over here is already provided to us inside the training. So what we will do here is quickly to copy that, put that into our custom overrides, save that, and when we now go to our instance here and reload that, no, it's not working. Usually with the hot module reloading, we should be able to see that instantly. You see, that's the problem with the live coding. Things that work every time tend to break at the exact point where you try to show them to other people.
It did say on the previous slide to restart to make it aware of the file.
Ah, yeah, okay, yeah, that's the issue with the thing in the themes folder. Thank you for making me aware of that, that when you add new files there, you need to restart your Volto process. But usually after you've added the site variables and the custom overrides, and sometimes maybe a few more files regarding your fonts or something like that, you usually don't need to restart that again when modifying your theme. So there we go. We have the black background and so on. Rather straightforward. Then we also have additional styling things here for the navigation menu. We can put that in here. Depending how you set up your project, you might have several files for each of your components for with the CSS, or as we are doing today, just one big custom overrides file. One thing that I found rather handy when working with the styling here is to put a comment on top of your rules to at least make clear to other people's.
So can you make whatever dot overrides and it will get picked up? It doesn't matter what it's called.
No, you need to have custom dot overrides. If you add more files, you can import those in your custom dot overrides then.
Oh, okay.
So you can then say unless add import and then your file name.
Okay, thanks.
As a string, I think that would then
so
work.
I can basically use the custom overrides to import.
Sorry, say again. Who was talking a few seconds ago? I didn't get that.
I think we lost in middle.
Okay. Yeah, I just checked the chat. There was one question coming up. When you put this into version control, which files go into your Git project? I think basically everything that is not inside a git ignore. Yeah, I don't see anything that shouldn't go into the version control there. So the a boilerplate git ignore is created with a create-volto-app boilerplate. And then at the end, we add this CSS. When we take a look here, we see we already got the new colors here, the hover effect. After we made Volto aware of the new styling file, every change we do there will instantly be picked up by the file watcher and be applied to our homepage. So, next step is the logo. This is where we'll be leaving the theming part for now and take a look at the Volto customizations engine. The Volto customizations engine uses a concept known as component shadowing in the JavaScript world, which works the following way. We have in our source directory here a customizations folder, which is, except for a README file, completely empty at the moment. And in that, we can drop any component from the Volto core package that we want to customize and amend that in whatever way we want. And when Volto starts building the site, it will go over your customizations and check which of those files you have in there are overrides for Volto, and then use those instead of the default ones that are defined in Volto. So for our logo, to do that, we need to check where the logo is located in the base Volto directory. For that, we have this handy omelette part in our project. And in the source directory, in the section components, theme, logo, we see we have the logo.svg. When we now want to override that thing, we need to match the exact same path from with the source directory as a base inside of our customizations in the project. So in our project, inside of customizations, we create a folder called components. Inside that, theme, logo. So we have the folders components, theme, and logo. And inside the logo folder, we need to drop the new logo. The new logo is, if we'd be using the old hands-on repository, it would be in the training resources folder. We do not have that here. Because of that, I'll just upload the new logo you'll be using to the Slack channel really quick. 1 sec. So you all can just quickly download that and paste that into this new logo directory. It's very, very important for the customizations to work that you match the very exact same path the logo SVG inside the omelette does have with the source directory as a base. So components, theme, logo, and also the file name need to match. And this is also case sensitive. So if a customization does not work for you for some reason, first thing to check would be if really all the spelling there is exactly the same as in the Volto base. When we add a new file to the customizations, the same thing applies as for new files in the theme directory. We again need to restart our Volto server to make the file watcher aware of the new file. Here we go. Now when we reload our page here, we see our logo has now been replaced with the Plone logo. Do we have any questions or problems regarding it? Regarding that, Vince asking about which logo. If you want to have another logo, use anything. Only important thing when you use this overrides mechanic is that in the end it is called logo.svg, so you can't use logo.png or something like that using the customizations engine. There are other ways to insert other logos, but the easiest way would be just to do like I did. So next step in the training is to customize the header component. For that, we can again go into our omelette part and grab us the old header from Volto, which is this one over here. Make a copy of that, and inside of our customizations, inside the theme folder, we create a new folder called header to match this path over here. And paste our old Volto header in there. Same game for here, restart the server. But while it's doing that, we can take another look at the training here. By the way, I can make that a bit bigger for you. This part here with the warning that is completely outdated, that is no longer relevant since we changed all imports in Volto to use @plone/Volto as a basis. This whole warning thing here, when you're reading the training, you can ignore that. We'll be updating the training rather soon to fix that. Here in our component, we have the classic JSX code in React that Alok taught you yesterday. Rather simple syntax. We have the navigation here, give props in there. This props a path name. Those are coming from the Redux middleware Alok taught you about yesterday. Same for the search widget, but for our use case, we'll be just really quickly replacing the JSX from the old header with a thing we already have ready here in the training. on here, paste that in here, save that. I hope our process here has run. Yeah, that is already finished. And when we reload the page, we notice that just as here, the navigation is aligned to the left of the site over here. Down here we have a little bit more explanation about the component shadowing, but nothing that I haven't told you about before. Next page. In here, we do the same game again, but for the footer component. So we check our base Volto repository, grab our footer.jsx, copy that, shadow the path of that in the customizations, paste the file, restart the Volto process, and while that is restarting, we can already start editing the footer, the shadowed footer component over here. Let me quickly get rid of this here. As we have in the, as we can see here in the footer of the original Plone.com page, we also have the logo here at the bottom. So we can use this import statement to import the logo component from Volto in this case. And as the component shadowing engine will recognize, okay, the logo component has been modified in the customization, so I will also apply the already applied changes from the customizations for the import. So this import from the @plone/Volto package will also take all the customizations you did to the respective components for you into consideration. For the sake of quickness, we will grab this whole bunch of code, copy that, and replace the complete footer part here with the new code. What you might have noticed is that here we are using the functional way of declaring components. So we talked about that yesterday when talking about state in React, that there are two ways to define components. On the one hand, as I think the header user is, the class variant, and on the other hand, the function way of declaration. Okay. To make our footer look even more like the one on the Volto, on the Plone.com main page, we also need some CSS, because as you can see here, we are having wrong background color and a bit of wrong alignment here. So we have this CSS/less code that we also can paste in our customizations folder. So this is the footer, paste that there, And when we save now, wait for a second, we should be able to see that change in a second. Or do we need to reload the page? That's a bit confusing to me. Let me check something really quick. That is already all right. We have that in place in the custom overrides. Go here, reload the page. Alok, do you have any idea why this is not working?
Like,
Do we have the right?
can you just check the CSS?
CSS is over here.
No, into the console. Like, can you inspect the element, like whether we have the same thing or not?
Okay, here we go.
Right.
This looks a bit more like the one we wanted to have. I think what happened is we started the restarted the process here too early to before it re-registered the new file. I think that's the error I made here. So make sure the file is already there when you restart the project. I guess that was the problem, the error I made here. But now we're at least having the rough alignment of the footer we want to rebuild here. It's not exactly the same. We might want to add some more changes there, but for our case, I'd say that is good enough. So on that, we continue. Next part is the breadcrumbs. For our case, as we're only working on the start page for now, we can just use this code to hide the breadcrumbs to not have any more trouble with that. Put that into your custom overrides, and here we go. Breadcrumbs are gone. Rather simple, rather straightforward. So next part. This is where things start to get really interesting, in my opinion, is how to implement new blocks into your project. If on the one note, when you want to customize blocks, that works exactly the same as with all the other theme components. You go to the Omelette or a base Plone repository that you might have on your computer. Find the block you want to customize. Blocks are in manage blocks. And here you have the blocks you'd want to customize. Copy that path into your customizations, apply the customizations you want, and everything should work as intended. But what we want to do today is mainly adding new blocks to your project. For that, we will be using the documentation here in the training. But for that, there's one very important addition I need to make to that. Here it says Volto blocks. Oh, wait a sec here. We are in the process of replacing the term tile and use block everywhere. So bear with us during the migration process. In some places, the terms are not yet updated, especially code in both Volto and Plone REST API. In this training, the term tile is still extensively used all over the training. With the current version of Volto that we are using, the term tile has been replaced by block pretty much completely. I don't know of any appearance of the tile keyword in the Volto core. So every time there's something with tile or tiles in here, we need to replace that with the term block. So starting with that, we need to check if our blocks behavior, not tiles behavior, keep that in mind, that's really important, is enabled for our content types. For that, we can log into our Plone backend at the 8080 port using the same login credentials as for the front end. And in the site setup part of that, we can go to the dexterity content types, select the content type we want the blocks behavior to work with. So in our case, the page mainly, page, and check if the blocks behavior is enabled. Indeed it is. In case it is not for you, you need to just tick that button and save, and the blocks behavior will work for your page. That out of the way, we can start with coding our first blocks. The blocks all are structured in the same way as that they have a view component and an edit component, which means depending on whether you're in the normal view mode, let me quickly log in here again. So this is the normal view mode or the edit mode. There are different files that will be used by Volto to display the block. Because, for example, as you can see with the image block, for example, this here is not shown when we are in the view part. The first block we want to create would be the main slider block for Plone.com, which should be reminiscent of this section up here with those news items in there. For that, we leave the customizations folder because we're adding new components to the project. We're not customizing existing parts of Volto, but we're actually adding completely new content there. Inside of components, the structure you use is not really important for Volto, but usually it's good to have some folder structure that fits your purposes and makes having an overview about your components easier should be used. So for our case, we create a blocks folder in which we will create all our blocks. And inside the blocks folder, for each block we want to create, we create another folder. In this case, the main slider folder. And in that, all files related to our main slider component will be created. In that case, as I said a minute ago, we need a file for the view so view.jsx, and another file for the edit variant of the block, edit.jsx. For now, we'll just use this dummy code just to inspect whether our configuration of the block was successful or not. So we paste those in here. Very, very simple React components, just functional component, and for those very simple, not interactive components at all, we don't even need the render method, but we only have the return, and that's enough. We see in this part of the block there is are the props defined. We get past a few different props by the Volto props engine. So those props are informations that we need to have to fill the block with the content we want to have coming from the REST API. So we get an ID, which is just an identifier for the block. Each block gets a new ID. Properties of the block and the data of the block. The most important part is the data. When we have editable blocks, every information that you type in there in the edit view will be stored in the data prop when we want to reuse that information. There are also a few more things listed here that get passed to the block by the blocks, and some of those are just information that are passed to the block. Others, like on add block, this is all outdated. On change block, not tile, are functions that you can use to do different things with the block. Most importantly, the on change block. We'll get to that later. Next thing is adding our new block finally to the project. So the Volto blocks engine knows, okay, there's a new block. The block has this view, this edit component, and makes that available to us in the blocks chooser. For that, we have the configuration file. One sec. config.js in the source directory of our project. That already has the imports for the default blocks, default views, default widgets, and default settings. So everything coming from the Volto core is already imported in here. And then we can start to amend that. For that, we create a new JavaScript object called custom blocks in our case. Make sure to not use the custom tiles keyword. And inside of that object, we create more JS objects for all the different blocks that we will be using throughout our project. So our first block is the main slider block, which has a few properties. There is the ID property used for internal handling. The title property is what will be displayed when you add the block. The icon is the icon that you see in the blocks chooser widget. So here, the title and the icon are what are defined here. The group is in which group it will appear in here. So we per default have text, media, and common. And the most used category, whether that is in there or not, is defined by this Boolean. The restricted property is, as far as I'm aware, not in use yet. So that does not do anything as far as I'm aware. You should usually just put that to false to not restrict that block in the future where you not might want to have it restricted when we have implemented the restriction mechanism for the blocks. In those fields, we have the view and edit components. So at the moment, those are still marked as red because they are undefined. We need to import them. And the security part is also at the moment not with functionality as far as I'm aware. Leave it as it is and the block will just work fine. For the future, we plan to make it possible so that only specific users can use specific blocks, but that's a tricky thing to implement and not quite ready yet. To get rid of our missing files here, to add those, we use import statements. So first we import our slider SVG from Volto icons. In the Volto icons directory, there's already a wide array of icons for the Volto theme. If you want to, you can go to the omelette and open up the icons directory and take a look at those icons. For our case, there's already a slider icon, so we can use that. And then we want to import these two things. For our tutorial, I'll do it a little bit different than explained in the training, because when we have bigger projects, we might import like tens to hundreds of different components into our config, and this will get messy very quick. And for that, we use index files in Volto. Inside the components folder, we have this index.js file, in which we then for later use import the files inside the components. So import main slider from dot slash blocks slash main slider slash view, and do the same game with the edit part here, and then export those again. So like this. And this will make life in the later process of working on our page much easier, because we do not need to find the exact path to the component we want to reuse every time we want to use that component, but we can always in our config say import, what do we want to import? Main slider view block and main slider edit block from at packet slash, what is it, components. There we go. So this configuration is finished there now for our custom blocks object. Only thing left is we need to insert our new custom blocks object into the into our blocks to use them alongside the default blocks. This is done using the blocks config. So here we have a lot of those blocks and tiles things we need to change. So this is blocks config. Those are the and anyways we are in the wrong place. We need to go here. We are using a default blocks.
Jakob,
Yes.
could you please go back to your index.js on components?
Here we go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
If you want to, I can also just quickly paste that code to the chat. And the idea of those index files inside a component is to have like an index of all the components you have there for later use, just for convenience, to make it easier to import those in other places. Okay, yeah. Erico, can I change back to the config?
Oh yes, sorry.
Okay. Here we quickly amend the tiles keywords to our structure. So the structure here is the new object. Blocks will be consists of customized default blocks object in which we insert the custom blocks into the blocks config object. The syntax might look a little bit confusing, but when you start using those ... spread operators a little bit more often, you'll get a little bit more clear picture how that works. And another thing here for the internationalization part, we can look later This is not that important for now, but let's do that anyways. Is we import the define messages object from React internationalization here and create this define messages object, define messages function, and this will help us translating that main slider part later on. Now, as we've added that, we can reload our page. We're already in the edit view, and at least if I did everything right here and you did everything right, we should have the main slider here. There we go. We have created our first very own block. We can see here, this is the text that is given from the main slider edit component right here. When we save our page here, we can see at the bottom this small text and the main slider view component that we got from here. Okay. I think now that we have implemented our first very own block, this is a good time to go into a small break, if that's okay with everyone. At least I could have one. Then I'd say we go into break here. I will use that to go on helping some people who are having some trouble here, and take a look on where I can help them. And I'd say we will continue in 15 minutes. So Central European time, that would be 16:48, I think. And see you then. Okay. Michael is having problems with importing.
I think I see it. It's a capitalization error, main slider. It's camel case. I'm going to try again.
Okay, yep. Yeah, that might be the case. And then Anthony has the problem page change to all unknown blocks. I already encountered that yesterday. This is probably caused inside of that syntax. First thing you should do is make sure that you really got rid of the tile keyword in all instances there, and that you have the syntax correct.
And one thing, can I begin?
Yes.
Jacob, can you go to like line number 46 or somewhere?
Line.
Okay, so you must have this same, like if you define like main slider, then your ID should be like the same, like the main slider. In that way also you will receive the error, like unknown
Yeah,
block.
but in his case, I think what he did was overriding all the default blocks, so also the text block was transformed into unknown block. That's what I accidentally did yesterday when I tried out the training again, but let me know if what I just said helped you. Then we have Adrian. I have the content same as Anthony. Okay. Adrian has fixed that. Anthony, please let me know if you.
Yeah, I'm good. I had missing an S in blocks config on line 68.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Then we had the question from Mike about the spread operator. Mike, are you still around?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay. So what we are using here is the ES6 spread operator, which in very simple words can easiest is to demonstrate the base functionality here in the console. So we create
I think that it is just like it copies the value from the given array or object or any iterable object in JavaScript.
Yeah, I created a very simple example here. Equals 1. I think that should work. TA. And when we now want to make a new object using the content from A, but adding something in here, we can let B equal A and dot A, comma, the thing we want to insert there, for example, value B should be string 2. Okay, bad idea from me. The ... syntax is not available in your browser because it can't use the ES6 because you need the
I get what you're
precompiler for
saying. Yeah, no, I do understand. Thanks.
But in our use case here, we create a new object called blocks, and that consists of the content of default blocks, default blocks, comma, in which we add object called, or modify if the blocks config object is already there, with the following content in here. So blocks, default blocks config, and will be added in there, plus additionally the contents of custom blocks.
Yep, makes sense. Thanks.
Okay. I'll also be away for 3 minutes. We'll be back soon.
Rafael, can you show me like what you want to say? Like, what's the error? Like it's not working.
I think I got it. Maybe.
Okay.
Just give me a second.
Mitchell, supposed to be enable. I think that yes, if we created the main slider view block and main slider edit block, then you can see it in Volto editor. Like if we select the add button and then go to the common used or the group which you assign to the block, then you can see it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing an add button anywhere. I see a save button. May I share my screen? Yeah, go. Yeah, show me what you should be
Just
seeing.
came back. What's happening here?
I'm just seeing what it's supposed to look like.
Okay.
I'm trying to add the new block that we just created.
Okay.
Got it.
Where can I check Alok's?
Yeah. Just that add button doesn't exist. That plus button. Huh. Never mind. Responsive design fail.
Classic.
And there's main slider. Yep. Okay. Just had to open up my window a little bit more. It was a responsive fail.
Okay.
Yeah. When there are responsive failures in Volto also, just feel free to add an issue for that in the issue tracker.
That's quite all right. I can't with any good conscience hold it against you. There's responsive fails all over my website.
Yeah, but the more responsive fails you're aware of, the more you can fix, right?
Can I share my screen so I can get some help?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I have the code here, right? Import
Give me a second.
slider.
I'm still trying to figure out how to see other people's screens. Anthony, you go to
You have to stop setting your own.
/ login and then
You can go to view option.
Vault login credentials are admin.
Okay. Rafael, I can see your code.
Okay. I get no errors. Everything is successfully compiled, but I don't see the option on the comments here.
Like, yeah. Main slider title will be main slider. Yep. Why are these warnings like? Okay, so you have this style config. You have to change this to block config. On line number 47.
47.
Tiles config.
Okay.
47. Make it to block.
There it is. Thank you.
Okay. Now I think we are good. Like everybody.
Okay. I think when everybody's back, And there are no problems / questions.
Jacob, there are some questions like which content type should I customize in control panel dexterity types?
I think document content type would be the one, but if everything worked as intended, you should not need to do that. That should already be ticked here. Page document, exactly. But if the Volto front end worked for you before, exactly. That is what we are seeing currently. If everything, when your Volto page looked okay, first time you started that up, you don't need to do anything. That means everything is already set up correctly here for you. This is at the block. The block's behavior is added when you have installed. Now let me go to the site setup again. You need to have, I think, kit concept Volto needs to be installed. So it will be enabled when you have the kit concept Volto package also installed. To be honest, I'm not too familiar with classic Plone to go in depth on how to add packages into old Plone 5. If you're having trouble with that, I think there are enough people around here who are who can give very good insight on that.
I'm having the same problem with not being able to see the plus button. How do I get that?
Are you logged
I
in?
opened up my screen, made my browser window wider.
I did that and refreshed, and I
Still don't see the plus button.
no. I am logged in.
Anthony, are you sure you are logged in? So you have
Yes.
this sidebar on the left?
Yes.
And you are in the edit mode.
Yes.
Can you maybe so the plus button only appears when you have like those empty text blocks, so that might also be an issue.
But how do I add a text block?
Press enter when you have selected a block.
Oh, okay.
I
Thank you.
haven't made that clear enough in the beginning.
Got it.
Hit enter. Then a new empty text block appears, and then you should have the plus button.
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Anthony, it's like learning Mosaic all over again.
Yeah. I keep teasing people about we need columns in Volto. We need Volto and Mosaic to get together.
All right. Next one with no plus button. So let's go through this one last time again. You need to be logged in. To be sure that you are logged in, you need to have this sidebar here on the left side. If you do not have that, then you are not logged in, which means you need to go to /login and log in with the credentials admin and admin as password. After that, you need to go to the edit mode of the page by clicking this pencil icon on the top. Then to add a new block, you select wherever you want to add that block. In our case, the bottom, the most last block at the bottom, click on that, hit the enter key, and then a new empty text block will appear at the bottom. Next to that, there should be the plus sign for you. And as we already encountered, I think with Michael, it might be the case that this plus button is covered by the sidebar. In that case, you can either increase your window size, as I am doing right now, or you can minimize that sidebar by clicking on this orange pinky colored bar to move that sidebar in to the left. And if you then still don't have the plus button next to the empty text block, I guess your Volto is broken. Okay, there we go.
Am I supposed to get a non-block main header as the text when you add a new
No, you're
block?
supposed to get what I have here. The text, I'm the main slider edit, or I'm the main slider view component. When you're getting the unknown block error only for the main slider block, that means something is wrong with your block configuration, either in here in the config, the custom blocks object. For example, one error that is often happening is that this string and this word, they need to exactly match. That's some cause of the error. Could be some cause of the error if that's not the case. And the other thing could be that your syntax down here is off. It could be that you forgot those dots. It could be that you use tile instead of block in this instance.
I got it. It's a main slider is camel case in the ID and not in the other one.
Okay. So it's working for you now.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Let me just quickly get rid of all the other blocks so we don't have that distraction. Save. Then I'd say we continue with the tutorial now. Yeah, I hope now for everyone who was coding along, the block is now there and working. So next. Now we want to add some more functionality to our main slider component. As we already saw in the Plone.com over here, it works like a classic website slider component. And to make that a bit easier in React, we will be using the help of a new library we'll be adding to our project, which is called React Slick. And for that, the Slick Carousel library. So we add those two libraries to our project by going into our console over here. We stop our development server and paste this command in there and wait a few seconds for it to install. There we go. Now we can start the process again. I'll just wait for you maybe a minute or so, because I don't know how fast your machines or respective internet connections are. So that everyone has that installed when we continue. Okay, I think most people should be good by now. If not, you can also already start with these editions. Now they will just be it will just take a little bit more time to have them properly working. What I already told you is that in the less files, over here, the custom overrides, that is a less styling file. You can also import other files. In our case, those two, which were installed with our with the new packages we just installed. I don't exactly know how the path resolution here works exactly on less, but I think this thingy here points it to the node modules, and then it will import the right files from the node modules. So now what we are planning to do now is adding the proper code into the view component of our main slider, which is rather extensive. I'll copy that over, and then we'll have a look at it together. Get rid of those windows here. So we replace the whole file with the code from the training. And first thing we notice is that the slider image.png that we are importing here, we get an ESLint error if you have installed ESLint in your code editor, and telling us that this file is not there. That is because that file is not there. To resolve that, we add the image we want to import here, the slider PNG, and that is again something I'll send you via the via Slack. So that should be that one. So what you need to do is download that image I just sent in Slack and paste that into your main slider directory. After you've done that, the reopen that file. The error should be gone, and taking a look at our page, this already looks a bit different. I'd say not good, but at least different. We might want to add a little bit more styling to that. But before we do that, let's have a quick look on our code here. So we have a few imports here at the top again. As always, we import React to properly create React components. Then we use the slider component coming from the library we just installed. Then we use the link component from React router DOM, which Alok talked a bit about React router in the beginning of the training. The link component basically works as a normal HTML A tag component, but for internal routes. So whenever you want to use something to navigate internally on your page, you need that. Then we import the button component from the semantic UI to add better looking buttons. We import the icon component from Volto. That is a helper component that Volto uses to make it easier to add SVGs to your page. And then we import a few resources like the slider image I just uploaded to the Slack, and those SVG is coming from the Volto core repository. As we can see here, we can, outside of our main view function, also define a few more separate React elements, which then will be reused inside the view component. So we define those next arrow and previous arrow components here. They receive class name, style, and onClick as their props, and will be rendered by the slider component. So this slider thing we imported from the React Slick library offers us a few configuration options. For example, those next and previous arrow options where we can add custom arrow components. We could put several other things in there. Down here, we use that link component I talked about to link to another page, in this case /Plone5. And same applies here. To get that block a bit better looking, we just copy over this huge bunch of CSS code. I won't get into detail over that, what does there. That's not the focus of today's training. But I also add the main slider comment here again, so for other people working on that, they know what this section of CSS code is for. Looking back at our page, let's hope our styling will be applied soonish. I don't know why, but it seems that for some reason okay, no, I'm seeing what's happening. That's also something you now need to do inside the custom overrides, inside the code you copied over. There's still the tile keyword in some instances. Please replace that with a block keyword. So there are 3 appearances of the tile class. Replace that with block, and same thing applies to here. There we go. That already looks better. But bear with me to find out where our slider content has gone. I think what we need to do is restart our server again, because we again added a new file, in our case the slider image.png. There we go. All right. Now we have our slider. Looking pretty neat, to be honest. I'll also give you a few minutes more to implement that. Feel free to write your questions and problems into the chat.
How can we help to get the documentation updated?
Say again?
How can we help to get the documentation updated? Because right now it's just tiles instead of blocks and some parts of it.
Yeah, we actually already have a Git branch dedicated to that. The thing is, we want to wait for the when we take a look at our quick start here. This Volto hands-on training repository, this thing is built around, still uses the tile keyword. So until we haven't updated this thing here, we still have the tile keyword here in the training. But in general, if you want to help updating the trainings, there is in GitHub / I think collective. Is it collective or is it Plone? The training in github.com/Plone/training. This is the repository where all the trainings that are accessible by training.plone.org lay in. And when you want to help to update stuff there, just create a pull request, ask the respective editors of those trainings to review those and get your amendments into them. Help is always appreciated with that. So in our case, that would be here, the Volto hands-on. Paste the link into the Slack. Okay. You want to use that for Yep. Okay. Is everyone finished with the main slider block, or is there some more help necessary? Would be good if some people could give their thumbs up in the chat.
Did you put that CSS in the custom overrides?
Exactly. I put that
My tile's
CSS
showing
in
up,
the
but it,
custom overrides, and then what I also did both in the custom overrides and the view.jsx, I replaced the tile keyword with a block keyword to get that in line with our current Volto semantics.
okay, that fixed it. I didn't know we did it in the view. Did you manually delete all the other blocks? I missed that.
Yeah, I did that.
Okay.
You can do that whenever there's a bit of like space left. It's a little bit tedious, but not complicated. Okay. I think we can continue with the next step, which is removing the title block, because as we can see on the Plone.com website, there is no such thing as just one single headline that there is. They use this main slider instead. When we go to edit, we will notice that we do not have this delete button for the headline block. This is per default set to not deletable, and this is what we want to fix now. For that, we go into our constant blocks in the config. So again, keep in mind this whole tiles thingy is outdated. We have the blocks here. And in there, under the default blocks, we set the required blocks array just to an empty array. Before there was, it looked like this. I think title, but we want to have it empty. So there are no blocks required by default. Yeah, this way. So
Do you know how blocks are stored on the Plone object? Will it be possible to add and remove them programmatically, say in an upgrade step?
Yes, I can show that to you.
Oh, you don't need to get sidetracked. I was just wondering if you knew things.
It's pretty straightforward. I can show that to you very quickly.
Please, I'm curious as well.
When we go to the edit of the page in our old Plone 5 interface, we have this layout tab over here. And in there, the blocks are stored as a JSON schema. At the moment that is empty. I guess the page is not up to date. Bit confused by that. Let me. What the hell happened here? Give me a second. So we have that. We have slash front page. Okay, yeah, the front page works a little bit different. For the front page, I'm not entirely sure where the blocks are stored, but for every other page, let me do that really quick. Create a new page. Test. Add some text. We can also have our main slider there and hit the save button. And when we now check our Plone 5 interface, go to this test page, go to edit the page, go to the layout. We can here now see that the blocks are saved in this JSON stream. Yes,
Jakob?
just will raise the hand. Yes.
So
Yeah,
for the home page, actually the data is stored in two properties on the Plone site root. So you can go with slash manage, and then in their properties you're going to see blocks and blocks layout.
Okay, so slash manage. Okay, no. I'm super
Properties.
unfamiliar with the SOAP management interface, but
Yeah, properties
and here we go. Those, right?
exactly.
Yeah. Let's go back to our example here. We have the two JSON objects here. First, the blocks. Here we have the ID of the block, and then after that there's always in the curly braces the information for the block. So each block has add type information, and for example a text block contains several more information about the text. Don't get into detail here, and here again just type main slider. The main slider does not contain any other information. And in the blocks layout, this is only used to set the order of the blocks of the page. So in this items array, this is a list of the ideas from up here in the right order for the page.
Interesting. Thank you.
Okay, I hope that answered your question.
I see the order here is only for rows. Is there a way to do like columns too, or that it doesn't support that?
It does not support that. At the moment, for column-like layouts, we have a concept called grid blocks, so that each block itself supports several columns. That is something that is in the works for Volto. But let's get back to removing our headline for now. So after we set this required blocks array as an empty array, we now should be able to delete the headline block, and exactly that's what we're going to do now. I'd say this is also the point where you can, if you haven't already, delete all the other text blocks that were there per default to only have the main slider there.
Sorry, can I just say something quickly about the columns and grids and stuff? That is, if you go and look at the add-ons, you'll find that there are people building add-ons just like we building this blocks, this customized thing. So there's people who've built columns and grids and all sorts of other things as add-ons.
Exactly, especially I think the folks over in Romania from Tiberio. I actually don't know the company name.
Web.
Yeah, Web, exactly. Those folks have been working quite a bit on column layouts, and also we here at create-concept have been doing that. Let me have a quick look if we have that already implemented. Okay, we haven't open sourced our column solution yet, but that will be coming at some point of time when that is more polished. We're still working on that and fine-tuning some things there, but at least for the future, there will probably even be several solutions to those column layouts, both from the web and create-concept. Yeah, if anyone has a link to the older web Volto column add-on, feel free to share that with us. If no one has that at hand right now, I'll look that up after the training. I think everyone should now be at on the same state here, with only the main slider block present on the start page. And we can continue with our next thing, and that will be creating content types and creating views for those content types. So what we do first is, again, very familiar to those of you who already have worked a lot with normal Plone, adding a new content type, very straightforward via the Plone interface, using dexterity content types, adding a new content type. In our case, that will be called success story. There we go. And we also want to have the blocks, not tiles behavior, enabled for that content type. So after we added that, we edit it, go to the behaviors, tick the box with the blocks behavior enabled, and the lead image behavior also enabled. Save those settings. Now we go. Next part is creating for the view for our new content type. For that, inside our components directory, we create a new folder for the views. And in that, we add a new file, which is called success story.jsx. For the views, those don't need different files for the edit and the view. So it's enough to create one file per view. It might make sense if the views are more complex and contain are composed of several files to also create a separate file for the view. But for our use case, it's enough to have that one file per view. For that, we again add some dummy content into our view. Rather straightforward. I'm the success story view component. Happy days. And also import and export that inside our index layers. This again deviates from the content of the training. That's something either I or someone else should be adding in the future to the training. So success story view from dot slash views slash success story. Add that to your export object. Close the index.js. So this was the index.js inside the components again. And go back to our configuration file. For that, we finally no longer have to fiddle around with those tile keywords because we're working now with views. To the views object, we add a new object called content types views. And in there we add the success story content type view and the alt default views. We get the error here because I forgot to import that at the top, but that's pretty straightforward. We just add that here at the bottom to our import statement and amend the naming down here. Check the chat really quick. Okay. If everything went right here, you should now be able, after reloading the page, of course, to add a new success story. And indeed, that is there. And as it has the blocks behavior enabled in the Plone management interface, we can type in any title and also some text. And if we want, we could also add any type of block that there is in Volto. We hit save. And we see, as we created the view, that's the wrong file. Where's the success story? In the success story view, we haven't added anything for the view part of the component. The text we just typed in won't be displayed, but at the moment only the I'm the success story view component text. That's what we want to change now. We don't want to rebuild the whole blocks rendering engine for the view ourselves. Instead, what we want to do is we just get the default view from Volto, which already has all the logic to render the blocks, the separate blocks inside of it, import that from the Volto core, and instead of returning this div with this text, we just return the default view. So we replace this div with default view. I'm getting some errors because I haven't closed the JSX tag here. And after we've done that and go back to our page here, we can do the back-to-back comparison before and after. We have our neat little blocks back again. For the success story view, we enabled this lead image behavior, so we can upload images to there, but for the time being, those aren't displayed. That's also something we now want to take a look at and change. So what we do is change up the markup for our success story view to be able to both display the blocks at the bottom and on top of that the image. What we use for that is in the beginning this small syntax. Those empty HTML tags are known as React fragments. This has something to do with the internals of React, how it works. And one of the things in React is that you can only you always have some kind of tag that wraps your component. And if you don't want to have a div or something like that wrapping your component, you don't have any wrapper there, you can just use those empty tags and the component will work well anyway, and they will not be rendered in the final HTML. Inside of that, we then can add the image tag, just as anyone working with HTML would usually do, with the difference we have the class name instead of class. For that we use lead and image as class names. For the alt tag we use this here, content.image caption. How this content object works, I'll explain that in a second. And we get the URL for the final image. So now we have a few errors here. One thing is we do not have the content object, so we need to define that first. We do it like this. This means inside of props, there is already a object called props, so props.content is already there. But what we do here is we assign that to a new variable just called content to make accessing that a little bit quicker. You can alternatively also just write props.content in here. That would work as well. And the other thing that's missing is the flatten to app URL function. That's a function provided by Volto to take the whole image URL that's coming from content.image.download. So from there we would get localhost 8080 slash Plone slash front page slash image and so on. This flatten to app URL function that we import from the Volto help us will remove the first part of the URL to reduce the URL to just slash page slash image slash download to make that a relative URL. When we're done with that, we should be able to, when we reload the page, I just created some errors in the process here. Okay. Get an
So
error
this is
because we haven't uploaded an image yet. Let me think of a quick fix for that. That's also a problem with the training. Let's do it this way. Only show an image if content.image is available. So don't worry, I will quickly paste this into the chat. This should be able to fix the error. So we're getting an error because it's trying to retrieve this content.image and content.image caption, but as we haven't uploaded any images, the request goes into the void and the image tag crashes. What I did here is to say, okay, only render this if content.image is available. We should probably also do the same here. The alt tag only if content.image caption is available. All right. There you go. Reload. Here we go. So to upload the image we want to have there, we would then go to the edit view and use this sidebar on the right to upload an image. I think the image we want to upload here is again something I need to paste to you in the Slack. Check what training doesn't even properly specify what lead image they want to have there. just upload any image you have on your machine to there. If you don't have anything, let me quickly paste something for you. Let's go with this image here. So you can use this right toolbar in the edit view to access the standard Plone configuration options that Plone offers. So let's call this block highlight, this page with the image caption highlights. Save this thing, and there we go. We have this lead image thing up here. Let's go back to the front page. So I think now it should be clear how to create your own views for a content type. So you create a file for that view, add in whatever markup you need for that view, and then in the end, add that to the Volto configuration down here in the views object. If that's working for everyone, I'd like to continue, but I'll wait till I at least get some feedback on how people going with that. Sure. I guess, okay, this would have been the image for the success story. But the training ones, let's send that to the Slack. So we go back to our success story, place the existing image. Not with me. Go away. This way. Okay, that's massive.
On the image, we're getting the image. Can we get the the different sizes, like thumbnail or mini?
Yeah, you can just add dot. What other? You could, I think, just add this as parameter, and you should be get the image scale. Let me. I'm not sure whether Plone image scales is enabled for the lead image behavior. Let me quickly check the network request for that. So all the information about the page you get is always in this request. And for the image, okay, yeah, you would have to not go to image.download, but to image.scaled. For example, mini
There is a typo.
download. Yeah, I see. There you go. Okay.
Thank you.
Let's lose large for our use case. There you go. Okay, let's just quickly also add the CSS for that component. I think I missed that. Here we go. So this is now, it should be a bit reminiscent of this page. Not entirely, but not really. I'm not entirely sure which page of Plone.com we are actually trying to rebuild here. I guess maybe this layout is not even available anymore on Plone.com.
Probably not,
But to
but
make-
the whole idea to show the how you customize a content view is great. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you get the gist of it. Yeah, and when you're done, just add this bunch of CSS again to make that look a little bit more pretty. So let's go on to the next one. And that's again a block. So for that, I have some small exercise for you to do on your own, if possible. Just create a new block called highlights block with a view and edit part that both just say, hi, I'm the highlight edit view, and I'm the highlight view block, and add those to your project. Let me know when you're done with that. And when you have questions, always feel free to ask. still problems with the success story. Okay. Give me a sec. It's not showing for me. Yeah, I'll show you the success story code again really quickly. So just try to replicate. Yeah, Ramiro, please don't do that. You need to import the default view from Plone Volto components. The idea is that we use the default Volto view that already has the blocks rendering engine implemented to show the blocks in your success story view. So delete your default view.jsx again and use this line of code to import the original Volto default view to reduce that.
Jacob, you are muted. Like,
Yes, I
do you?
know. I was talking to
Okay.
Timo in the office.
Okay.
Okay, Anthony is done.
I'm a bit confused on what we're supposed to do with config.js.
Okay.
And that is blocks, highlights.
Yeah, I can. If everyone's okay with that, I can continue my sharing and show you how you should have done that, and hopefully clear up some the problems people might be having. So yeah. To begin with, what I started with and what you also should have done in the beginning is create those edit and view JSX components just as with the main slider in their own folder in the blocks directory, just with that simple text in there. And then also, as we already did for the main slider and the success story view, import them to our index file and export them again. And then go to the config.js down here. And in there, we at first also import those two blocks, just as we did with the main slider. And then we use the same configuration boilerplate as for the main slider for the highlights block. So inside of our custom blocks object, we create another object called highlights, which has the title highlights, ID highlights. For our case, uses the same icon as the main slider block. That does not matter too much. Also group that into the common group. Use the imported React objects for the view and for the edit respectively, and leave the rest as it is. And for this here, for the blocks object on here, we do not need to touch it anymore because we already added the whole custom blocks object down here. Did that help?
Yes, I'm nodding my head.
Okay. So for our front page, we now should be able to add that highlights block, just as we did with the main slider block. Is everyone now at the same state as I am? Could at least some of you confirm that in the chat or vocally?
I think you can go ahead. Like I can. So
Okay,
yes.
good. All right. So now that we have the block at least registered with Volto and can add and remove that, we now should continue to add some styling to that. The idea is to have that block look like this part of the Plone page. For the sake of some simplicity, we don't want to add all those links and text here manually. We'll just use images for that. And we should be fine. So now, first, I quickly upload the 2 images you want to use here to the Slack again. Those are the highlights news image and the highlights Plone image. You download them and add them to the same directory as your highlights view and edit components are, like this. And then you can copy this whole markup into your view.jsx for the highlights block. In here we use another helper from Semantic UI React, the grid component. That's a Semantic UI component that makes it a bit easier to create responsive grid layouts in your components. And when we are looking at our Volto front page here, we should be able to see this 3-column grid layout with those Plone news. Can also add a bit more styling to that. The custom.overrides. Find that really quick. As always, all styling just goes in custom overrides. There we go.
Could you put CSS for each component in the components folder and import it into that JSX, or does it have to be in?
Yes,
overrides?
you could.
Oh, okay.
You could put. I think you should. I don't know if you can, but you should not put the CSS into the same folder as the component. That might be breaking, but it could also be possible. I honestly have not tried that, but I think if you fit the path from here, match that exactly, that should also work. At least what we're doing at Kit Concept, what I think is not really the optimal solution is just dump all the CSS in the custom overrides file, which on the one hand has the benefit of having all your CSS in place and don't having to look around for stuff, especially if it is CSS code that might be used by several blocks. On the other hand, you end up with like 2000 lines of CSS files, which is also not the best thing to handle. There is no generally accepted rule on how to do that best.
Okay.
When you want to split it up in different files, I would recommend that you do it like the Volto core does it, because there, when you have a look at the theme file and to the Pastanaga or folder, you have a bunch of less files for all different kinds of components. But as you can see, this can also get very, very bloated very fast, and you can have discussions what CSS has to go in what folder, especially when it's code that is used by several components. In the end, you need to kind of figure that out, what works best for your project and for your use case on the fly. I think I can continue a bit more. And here we also want to have these parts down here. For that, I also have images prepared for you that I will upload to Slack now, which are, what images do I need? Highlights plone.png, then highlights news dot Plone highlights news. No, never mind. I already added those. Sorry. Let's look at that step later. Okay. So the next thing what we want to do is make our highlights block a little bit more dynamic in regards of the success stories. For
Jacob, can you just wait for a second? Ramiro has this, like, can you show me your...
Yeah. Here we go. Just saw that. Sorry. My bad. Just for explanation, when you have those index.js files, they can also get very bloated, and at least what I like to do is to group those imports by topics. So I have here a group of all the blocks, and if would add more views, I would add them here in another group. So when you check the index.js file for something. It's a little bit more clean. Okay, Ramiro, Michael, are you both
Saying good.
back
Like,
back with us?
yeah.
Okay, good. Then let me continue. So the idea of our next component is that in our highlights block, we want to show the recent success stories just as this recent Plone launches column does on the Plone.com website. And for that, we create a small component called recent success stories.jsx in our highlights directory. There you go. Paste this little React markup in there. And then we go back to the view of our success stories or highlights component. And in the recent success stories column, which is here, the middle one, you add this recent success stories component. Instead of the body here part. It will complain again because on first hand the component is not imported. So let us quickly import it here at the top. And on the other hand, this ID variable is again undefined. We do the same as we did with the, I think, content in the success story view. Here, right above the return statement of the view component, we add this small declaration. As I already said, with a success story view, alternatively, you could also just directly access the props here at the bottom. It's just a matter of personal taste and how you structure your code. Okay, I think most people should be done with that. If you're done, your front page should now look like this. So for the middle column here, for the highlight block, there should be the list of success stories paragraph. Okay, yeah, I'll continue now. Now this is where stuff really gets interesting, because we will now be actively querying the Plone REST API for informations. I'll quickly copy over this code into my recent success stories .jsx, and from here explain to you what we are doing. Before I do that, maybe here I really would like everyone to have their attention, because this is a little bit more complex. Okay, I think most people should be there now. So what we're doing here, first thing that's new is we import an action from the default actions that are already implemented in Plone. In our case, the search content action. Then we import the use dispatch and use selector hooks from React Redux to be able to dispatch that action to the Volto Redux, and finally through the middleware to the REST API. And then here we again have that link component we talked about earlier. In here we again assign the ID object to props.id, and then we assign the search subrequests object to the results of the use selector function we imported here from React Redux. That then in turn selects the requested state from the Redux store state search subrequest. So in the Redux store, there will be a search object with subrequests object. That's what we want to get. And we create the new function dispatch and assign the use dispatch we import from here to that. And finally, we say our results of our query shall be the search subrequests if available. This syntax here with the question mark in the inside the query has the effect that the rest of this thing here will only be searched for or used if it's actually there. If we don't have this question mark in here and this this part here is not available in the object because, for example, the REST API query hasn't finished yet, we would get an error. This way, the request will only be, or the object will only be filled as far as here if the data is actually available. This syntax here actually is not an array. This is the JavaScript object bracket notation, which means the results are always for this part here will be replaced by whatever value is assigned here in the ID thing. So if ID would be number 1, this here would be replaced by number 1 with the syntax. Then down here we have the React use effect hook. This is a little bit reminiscent of the old React lifecycle methods Alok talked a bit about yesterday. To summarize it really quick, this is something that the stuff in here, inside of these brackets here, will be executed every time the component starter changes or the component reloads or remounts. Yeah. So every time the component loads, the search content action from Volto here is dispatched to the Volto Redux engine with the following parameters. And those are parameters from Plone REST API. So the search content action will query, I think, the Plone search endpoint on path root with the parameters sort on created, metadata fields all, and the limit portal types only success story. And the ID as additional parameter to save it in the right ID inside the Redux state. And then this part here is the dependency array. That's something that goes a little bit too deep to explain now. And down here, we have the final markup, what we display. So if results is available, we map over the results and return each result as story, and then we create for each story an LI with a key of the ID of that story, and then put there a link with a story title. Let's save that and see if that works. And as we can see, it actually does. I created that one success story called title. If I add another success story now called, let's grab something from Plone.com, yesterday bar, add that there, save that, go back to our front page. That will appear over there. Let me quickly show you in Redux how that works. For that, I have installed in my browser the Redux development tools, which are a nice little add-on to debug and get a better understanding on how Redux works. we reload the page, we see all the reducers and actions being called. In our case, here we triggered the search content reducer, and then we can there see the state of our whole store. And as we defined here, the search sub-requests variable is here reminiscent of the search sub-requests, and this is the ID of that request. Which is, by the way, the same ID as the block. The sub-requests mechanic is used if, in case you have several blocks that query the same API endpoint, you can then have several sub-requests from that API endpoint with the respective IDs of the block. And in there you can see here we got the information for our 2 success stories we queried. Are there any questions on that topic? Because I know this is a little bit more complex.
The only thing I look at is passing the review state part of the query, but I think that, you know, like if our success stories are published or private, or the workflow happens there. That's the only thing I thought of.
When they are, the review state is private, that's work that the Plone REST API takes care for you. So when you're an anonymous user or a user that does not have access to that resource, the Plone REST API will not give that to you. This is part of the security mechanisms inherent in the Plone REST API. Yeah, Ramiro asks where to get more information on the Plone REST API. There's documentation for that. Let me quickly Google that. Plone REST API, read the docs. There are in here are all the endpoints and how they work. And there it's rather extensive, but still not entirely complete. If you have specific questions regarding the Plone REST API, feel free to ask the developers of that, create issues in the Plone REST API repository. I think here.
And probably there is a forum also on community.plone.org.
Sorry, say again. Didn't get that.
Maybe there is a forum on community.plone.org.
That might be the case.
Or a topic in forum, maybe.
Might be the case. Let me look that up. I think there doesn't seem so. I think best way to get in touch with the Plone REST API guys would be to use GitHub, but I don't really.
You can
know
also
that
ask
because I'm sitting with
a
the
specific
main
question.
I'm sitting in the same office with the maintainer of Plone REST API. So usually, if I have questions about that, I just go to the next room and ask Timo.
Okay. And you
Yeah,
said,
but Ramiro, but in
if
any
you can't
case, you
find-
can always
Yeah, maybe-
ask on community.
yeah. And if you
Yeah,
can
or
find
ask
Timo,
in
you
the
can find
Plone
Jacob.
Slack or in the Plone Gitter. You'll always find someone.
If I can't find Timo, I can find Jacob.
Yeah,
Which is fitting.
and I forward that.
Thanks.
Okay. Is that what we is that search content thing working for every one of you?
I stopped to follow up to pay more attention. So
Okay.
I am like some points behind.
Okay. Erico says it does. Then we are almost. I think we're almost done with this training here. Last thing is to further improve the markup of your highlights block. For that, you can just copy from the training this whole JSX code, this whole JavaScript code, paste that in here, amend the tile keyword here, so to block, I think you should do the same. I think it does not even matter. And there are a few additional resources required. You should paste to the same folder as before. So give me a minute to send them in the Slack. Those are highlight logos, highlight small Plone conf, and yeah, that's it. Those two images also go into the highlights folder. Same game again. Reload the page. And what you're seeing on my screen should be how your page looks in the end. I think, let me take a look at the, okay, there's one part left. I don't know. This will probably take another 20 minutes at least, I guess. This is about how to make your blocks editable and add the logic for that in there. Pretty interesting, but would also take a little bit more time. It's already pretty late. Are you guys willing to also do that with me, or would you say that's enough? So this will be the final chapter of our training. Can I get a bit of feedback on that? Yeah, Mike is out. Michael, what about you? Would you be willing to stay another 20 to 30 minutes for the last chapter? Adrian would want to do. Would really appreciate some feedback. By the way, how many people are there left anyways? 18. Still quite a few. Raphael. Okay, yeah, then give me 2 minutes. I need to go to the bathroom real quick. We'll be back really quick, and then we'll continue on that. I'll try to kind of rush through that. Let's see. Okay, I'm back. I'd say I'll just also do this part just to have it in the recording, so the people who want to drop out can do so. I'll just keep going to get that done. And if you're still interested and want to take a look at that, just check the recording. That will be online hopefully tomorrow or at some time this week. So when we added a block, the configuration for the block is almost entirely done via the sidebar that we have here on the right side of our page. For example, if I add this image block and upload some example image over here, I can configure that on this right sidebar. What I want to show now is how to create your very own sidebar to configure whatever block you want to configure. When we, let me quickly, okay, this part is also not specifically for the project we are currently working on. We'll just create a separate block as an example for that. So I'll really quickly create a new block as we learned. This will be the teaser block. Add the view JSX and edit JSX really quick in there. And at the markup we are provided with in there, we create a separate file for the sidebar. Let's call that teaser sidebar.jsx. Get the markup in there. Don't worry when I'm rushing through this really quick. I'll explain when I have all the code in place on my editor. Go. We have this whole thing. File teaser body. And that one goes to the view. At the block quickly. That config add the block down here. Do the export. So this will be teaser view from view. So edit, paste them down here. Comma. Space here. Add them to our import list. And in here we need to replace this whole tile mess with a block. Again, same for uppercase tile with uppercase block. Save that. Okay, I think we're good for explanation. What we have here is the entry point for the edit component of our teaser block. The idea of the teaser block is to have a block that shows content from another page, basically, and you in the edit view you are able to display to change what content you want to display there. For example, the reference some other page and show the preview image and the headline and the description of that page would be the case here. The edit component here consists of two sections. On one hand, we have the teaser body. This is something I quickly created here, a component that shows the markup of the finished block. And the other thing we have is the sidebar portal, which we import from Ploneconf and add our custom sidebar, our teaser sidebar we created over in the teaser sidebar.jsx file, and display that there. The teaser sidebar gets past the data, the block, and the onChange block function that we get from the blocks engine here inside of our props. For the props, there are this is a little bit different notation as we had before. Instead of this, we here directly define what props we expect and can use them directly in the components without writing like props dot something. But the concept works still the same. Then we take a look at our teaser sidebar and also amend if any appearances of the tile keyword are here. I don't think so. The teaser sidebar only consists of a bit of markup with this headline showing this is the sidebar for the teaser. You'll see that in a minute, how that looks like. And then we have the teaser data part. The teaser data part is a small component created to contain all the information that then, or the configuration information that then is displayed actually in the sidebar. You could potentially also paste that directly inside of this teaser sidebar component, but to have it more clean, we move that into a separate component for our case, on which we'll have a look now.
You only have 5 minutes.
Okay, and then the meeting will just close. Let me quickly do the changes here again. I think I can do it in 5 minutes. Lowercase. Save that. We should have the thing working now when we reload our page and go to edit and add our teaser block. One sec, I fucked up the configuration of that. So edit block. No, I didn't. I fucked up the index layers. Ah, yeah. We need to have the teaser obviously in here. config.
I think that
teaser.
if you reload,
No, there's, yeah, might be. No, there's still some import with tile. Here. Manage blocks. Block image. I think that's it. I hope when you go through the recording a little bit slower and pause on what I'm doing, you might get a little bit more of an idea what's going on here. At the moment, I'm just doing that to have it in the recording so people can check that out afterwards. So when we now add that teaser component and go to the blocks tab, exactly there we have implemented this content browser, and from there we can add some content we want to show in the teaser block, and that then in turn will be displayed here, and you can click on that and get to there. This object browser that you open is defined here in the teaser data using the open object browser function from the Plone core. Take another look at the training resources if you're more interested in that. And I think I can wrap the training up for now. I think I have a minute or so left until the meeting stops. So I'm very grateful for you to have you with me. I hope you learned a lot, understood everything. If you have more questions, feel free to text me in the Plone Slack. I'll help you with anything. If you need to rewatch something, there's the recording. Thank you very much. Let's see whether the meeting will close automatically
Thank you.
or not.
Thank you very much, Jacob. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.